Hi, I'm Brian Wick with the Cape Cod Cranberry Growers Association. We're here in Rochester, Massachusetts, watching a wet harvest. So this is the culmination of about a 3-day process. Cranberry bogs are dry for most of the year, but when they're ready to be harvested, they flood the bog with water, and that's what happens on day 1. The next day, after there's enough water to cover the vine tips, which is about 6 inches or so of water, they'll drive onto it with water harvest machines. It's like water reels, like an egg beater, only turned sideways. They comb through the water, separating the berries from the vines. Cranberries have air pockets in them, so they float to the surface. That's on day 2. And the third day, which is what we're seeing today, is the cranberries are corralled and pumped off of the bog. So we have a series of workers here. They have a boom. You can see the worker there is pulling it now. It's about 8 inches tall. It's a lightweight material, and they corral or surround the cranberries so they can easily grab them all, and they make a nice tight circle of it so there's a lot of pressure on the berries that they can get into that pump. So that woman there is pulling with a rake, and you'll see some metal posts there. That's where the pump is, under the ground, under the water there. So the cranberries are being sucked up into that, into the tube, and up into the truck up above. And the cranberries are then washed up there. Any sticks and leaves are separated out. Rotten cranberries are removed. So the good cranberries go into the truck. And what we call trash, which is otherwise all those sticks and leaves and rotten cranberries, they'll go into that other truck down below there. You can see some of the water coming out within the brown material. So that material then is collected in that truck and will be composted somewhere else on the property. The good cranberries will go down the road a few miles to the fruit receiving station, where they're going to be washed further, evaluated for their color and their quality. They'll be sorted, then they'll be placed into 1,000-pound wooden bins, and they are transported either to the freezers for later processing or directly to the processing facility itself, where these berries will be turned into sweet and dry cranberries or cranberry juice. Wet harvest is about 95% of how the cranberries in Massachusetts are harvested. The other 5% are picked dry, and that's fresh fruit that you would see in bags or containers in stores and farmers markets and things like that that could be baking with or decorating with. But all the rest of the fruit that's harvested wet is all the other forms of cranberries that you may eat: sauce, juice, dried cranberries, etc. So you can probably hear that pump running in the background. And that was the horn telling the truck to move up to the next point so they can continue loading berries in the back of it. So that pump is what's driving the cranberries to be sucked up out of the bog into the truck. So it's a little bit loud. Just a reminder, farming is not always just nice and quiet and pristine, sometimes a little bit noisy. And today is one of those days. It's just part of the harvest process. Moving those cranberries out of the bog as quickly as possible. You want to make sure that they can get to the fruit processing facility in a timely manner, because those cranberries don't want to start breaking down in the truck. We want to deliver good fresh cranberries for you to have in your cranberry products. Cranberry growing requires fresh water. All cranberry bogs have a source of fresh water nearby. The vast majority, by far, is surface water. And here's an example of this particular bog's water source here. You can see there's a cage, a white cage surrounded with a black material on top of it, black mesh. That's the pump that is moving the water, and there was a silver pipe here that also is transporting water from this section over to the bog over here. And we can move over this way. So here's the other end of that pipe right here. That water can change there, and that pump system can also pump the water into this bog. So it's ready to be flooded. It has to be fresh water. Salt water will kill cranberry plants, so all has to be fresh, good clean water, very much iron-rich water in this part of the country, this part of the state, and that's what cranberries like. So they'll flood the bog with just enough water to cover the vine tips when it's time to harvest the bogs. And then after they separate the cranberries from the vines, they'll add even more water, about 12 to 18 inches, and that allows the cranberries to float free and clear so they can easily grab them. And now we're going to take you up to the pump truck. off the leaves and sticks. Those are being driven into a grate down below. The bigger cranberries are now being washed and going down into the truck. They can adjust the force of the water. You can see here the pressure gauge. They can adjust the force of water, which will separate the older leaves faster or slower depending on the volume of fruit and the quality of the fruit that's coming out of the barn. This is what a dry cranberry bog looks like. For most of the year, this is very typical of a cranberry bog. They're not flooded, they're dry. You can see the vines here. This is 3 or 4 inches tall. And this bog has already been harvested, so it's safe to walk on. You can see there's lines here. If you can see that in the camera, those are the lines of the picking machine that already went through here combing off the cranberries. So this bog would have been flooded. The picking machine drove onto it, separated the cranberries from the vines, they floated to the surface, and then they were corralled and pumped off. So this is the very center of the bog. And that's what these yellow flags are denoting, the very center of this piece. So you can see in the middle here, the vines are kind of higher where the flags are, right in the very center, and that's because the vines are trained to grow in one direction. And they pick in a circular motion. So the vines, the harvest machines go down this way, they turn around and they come this way. And in the middle, the vines are kind of going in both directions. So that's the hardest part of a bog to harvest, is that center line, because the vines are going each direction. And you can easily get caught up in the harvest machine. Now we're going to move over to another bog that was harvested this morning. And we'll show you what that stage of the process looks like. So we're leaving the dry bog now. So this bog was completed today. Yesterday, the water harvest machine separated the cranberries from the vines, and early this morning, starting at daylight, they pumped the cranberries off and sent them to the fruit receiving station. So this bog has just enough water, you can see it's covering the vine tips. When they corralled those cranberries, it was probably about 12 or 18 inches of water in it. But after they got these cranberries off, they needed to use the water on the next piece, which they're harvesting right now. So they took some of this water and moved it over to the next piece. And that's what cranberry growers do. They continue to recycle and reuse that water, moving it from one section to another. So nothing is wasted, and it all gets reused and repurposed. So this third section here, that's where they have, again, about 18 inches of water on there now, so the cranberries are very easily free and clear from the vines. They can corral them and pump them off. So this is one of the great innovations that cranberry growers have been using for the last 15, 20 years. And this is the containment system that they use to corral the cranberries. This is a lightweight, flexible poly material that they can reel up very easily, just like you might with a garden hose. And this material can be moved around very quickly by a single person. Prior to this, they used to use wooden boards that were hinged together. The boards were big, they were heavy, bulky, and you could very easily throw your back out twisting the wrong way, carrying those heavy boards. They get water laden. So this is a great innovation for our cranberry growers that are much easier and more efficient than the previous methods. Massachusetts cranberry growers are heavily invested in technology in order to help keep them as efficient as possible. One of those things is what we call auto start technology, where the pumps that provide water to the cranberry bogs are able to start automatically. And you can see in the top, this is a pump house here, and on the top is a solar panel, and that is providing the energy that's powering inside the pump house this computer system, which is tied into the pump, and this is the pump that's providing the water to that bog source. And so it's all tied together, so this technology is able to the pump to start automatically based on preset temperature thresholds. Too hot, too cold, the pump can automatically turn on, and that saves the grower from having to run around, turn the pumps on and off manually. So it saves labor, it saves water, it saves time. It's a great efficiency for the cranberry industry. So So one truck has just left with a load of cranberries, and immediately the next truck is coming in to replace it. I want to keep this operation going as quickly as possible. Farming is all about efficiencies. So this truck is getting into place. They've temporarily shut down their pumping system while they're changing the trucks out. They also took the opportunity to remove what we call the trash truck, and that was the truck that had filled with sticks and leaves and rotten cranberries. That was dumped elsewhere on the property where that's going to be composted. But the new truck that's going to be ready to haul berries is getting into position, and they'll fill that from the front to the back, moving the truck along as the berries fill it. So one of the questions we get asked most frequently are, what are the flags out in a cranberry bog and what are they for? Well, they're basically visual markers for the water harvest crew to know where some of the trouble spots are in the bog. In this particular case, the most common use of them is to mark one of these center ditches, one of the main ditches that are going through the bog. Once these bogs are flooded with water, being an iron-rich source of water, it's very hard to see where you're going with the water harvest machines as they're churning through the water, separating the cranberries from the vines. So the flags are telling them where some of the ditches are. Maybe there's a large boulder or a low spot. It also may tell them where to get on and off the bog edges are, things like that. They mean something to each grower. The colors are really only particular to that grower and how they want to set their flags up. Everyone does it differently, but what they are for is visual markers for those water harvest machines, and also for once the workers are out there corralling the cranberries, it provides a reminder, oh yeah, look out, there's a ditch coming up here, so don't step in it. The cranberry industry of Massachusetts provides much needed open space for the region. So the cranberries are found in primarily southeastern Massachusetts, Cape Cod, and the island of Nantucket. There's roughly 13,000 to 14,000 acres of producing cranberry bog, but in total it's about 60,000 acres or more of land that's a direct result of the cranberry growers. Because for each acre of working cranberry bog, there's about 3 or 4 acres of support land that goes around with that. And that could be swamps or reservoirs or whatever the water sources may be for that bog, but it's also open land, uplands as it's called, dry land that's surrounding the bogs, and this provides tremendous habitat for many species of plants and animals. Some of the species in Massachusetts that are threatened or endangered find their homes here, and it's also a great opportunity for many people to enjoy as they see these beautiful vistas of the cranberry bogs and the surrounding lands with all different types of trees. You can see here that on this property here there's a mixture of conifers and deciduous trees. This is really the epitome of Massachusetts cranberries right here, this beautiful mixture of land that we have here.